Well, it turns out men are intimidated by beauty. So they go to what they would feel they would not be intimidated by, which is fascinating. We're going to talk about a few points on secrets from swingers. If you're not familiar with the term, swingers are people who are in a committed relationship and they enjoy having sex or erotic encounters of some kind with other people. Inside the swinging scene, there are several terms that you may need to get acquainted with, and they generally measure the level of involvement with other people. There's soft swap, full swap. Soft swap is the idea of caressing, oral sex without penetration with other people, someone other than your partner, while full swap is full sex with someone other than your partner. There's same room swap and separate room swap, which is exactly what it sounds like it is. Here are a few secrets we've learned from the realm of swingers. Currently, at least, you'll find that even though there's all ages, you'll find the average age to be more on the mature side. 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on. If you think swinging is something that appeared anew, you'll be surprised to find people that are in the 60s and 70s who actively practice swinging, which is quite beautiful and quite amazing for several reasons. One, the man can still get up, the woman can still be penetrated, and they're swinging in their 60s or 70s. It's amazing. You'll find that people have been swinging for at least a few years, have very stable, open relationships. You have to be in order to successfully swing. While there are some people who are young and do swinging, at least from what we've seen, the age tends to be more mature, and I have a theory as to why. The theory goes that in the current culture, as a woman, you grow up and you are very much constrained in your sexuality. You are educated what is supposed to be and what's not supposed to be in your sexuality. You also have goals. You want to establish a career, a relationship, and have children. After a while, after all of these goals are perhaps well established, you have a solid enough relationship with a good sexual satisfaction inside it, you perhaps have children, and also you are more mature. You've taken the time as an adult to deconstruct what it is that you've been taught to believe about sexuality and very much want to enjoy yourself more. That's why I think couples tend to be more mature in the swinging scene. You need to have the stable relationship, you need to have the stable career, and everything else, all the other ducks in a row, if you will, to enjoy the luxury of swinging. Also, surprisingly, you'll find that at least half, if not more than half, of couples there doing swinging, the woman inside the couple came up with the initiative to start swinging. That's because both sexes have the desire for new. They have the desire to explore. You'll also find that, contrary to what they boast, many men, I would venture to guess most men, are terrified about performing in public. They fear they won't be able to get it up. Other people would see them, laugh at them. So it's actually quite difficult for most men to do so. Speaking of which, here's another point for the previous video. The most beautiful sex workers do not necessarily get the most customers, which is counterintuitive for a moment, because you would think if you're paying for it, you're gonna get the most beautiful erotic worker that you can afford. Not the case. So for example, if you work the windows in Brussels and you're on the street, you see all the girls in the windows and you rate them by beauty. Sure, it's subjective, but still. You'll see that the ones that are most beautiful do not get the most customers in a night. Why? Well, it turns out men are intimidated by beauty. So they go to what they would feel they would not be intimidated by, which is fascinating. Now back to swinging. The people that come there in an unstable relationship because their partner pressured them into it, or to try to resurrect their relationship, the general consensus is that that relationship gets destroyed quite quickly by the attempt to swing, and The ones that are left after a few months to a few years are the ones that have a strong connection, a strong relationship, that are able to enjoy in a balanced way the act of swinging, because it has quite a few challenges around jealousy and so on. From the ones that are swinging for a while, you'll find that they'll tell you swinging helps enrich their relationship because of the newness, the natural enjoyment that you get from a new experience, a new body. Swingers run the gamut of sophistication, so they're almost all ages, all shapes and sizes, and all levels of social status. Perhaps you tend, though, to be slightly more middle class, slightly more educated, but you'll certainly find all shapes and sizes. You find young, slim, fit, beautiful, you find old, you find fat, you find thin, anything really. Everybody has a sex drive and wants to enjoy themselves. You'll find all sorts of couples, so there's all sorts of relationships between couples. You have friends that come together for benefits and just for swinging. You have partners where one just wants to watch, whether it's the man or the woman. You have, of course, transsexuals, transvestites, gays. It's quite an eclectic mix. You find that the discussions tend to be relatively open. You have to be. You're probably almost naked, depending on the venue. There's, oh yeah, venues, by the way. There's, of course, private venues, as in inside your own home. Private get-togethers with another couple or a third person. Private parties, from the intimate with just a few couples to the more elaborate country house for a weekend sort of thing. There's short-term and longer-term relationships. The longer-term relationships, if they're not just friends with benefits type, they can grow towards polyamory. That is a separate video. You have clubs that cater to swingers. You have couples retreats in exotic places around the world, and you have clubs in many of the urban areas in the world. The clubs, it's difficult to talk about them in general, and we certainly haven't visited an exhaustive list of them, but from the ones we have visited, situated in Western Europe, have a policy where some nights are for couples only, mainly Saturdays, and some nights allow single men, because in the club scene, you still have many more men that are interested. So much so that a single woman participating in swinging is called a unicorn, something that does not exist. That is changing, though. So you'll find more and more single women participating, but in a sort of covert way. So what they'll do is have a friends with benefits they feel comfortable with, and he will be their chaperone in the swinging scene. It's still very much uncomfortable, at least inside a club. Most likely not in a private party with select people, but at least inside a club, it's still very uncomfortable for a single woman to come in and face the attention of other guys. Even though, as I mentioned in the prostitution scene, guys are looking for connection as well. If you are at a swingers club and you're a single woman, you'll get an army of cocks following you, and it's certainly intimidating, not pleasant, so on and so forth. We still have a ways to go to evolve in our civilization with regards to how we feel, how we treat people inside swingers clubs. There's more points, I think, but I'll cut it here and I'll resume at a later time.